Hi guys, welcome to today's episode on fast endpoints, and we are going to explore on fast endpoints. For fast endpoints, talking about fast endpoints is nothing but web API which can be written using .NET 6. But it is kind of a new way of writing web API which is much more developer friendly. Therefore, we will see how this can be done through an example. Therefore, this fast endpoints basically follows this REPR pattern or request endpoint response pattern, which is pretty convenient for writing a web API because a lot of boilerplate code which was there previously while writing web APIs in MVC and other patterns, we have to write a lot of boilerplate code to bring up a web service. Then those all things has been reduced to a large extent using this new framework of writing a web API. Therefore, it actually reduces. Therefore, the memory footprint of this particular web API is very much less, and it provides a faster or better performance compared to other frameworks. Therefore, we will see how we can create a new fast endpoint project. For that, we have to go to the file. We'll start from scratch. Actually, we'll try to create a fast endpoint project from scratch, and we'll just go through the structure of the project first and try to understand what all things are involved for creating a particular fast endpoint project. Therefore, we will go to new project and we will select this ASP.NET Core web app. Therefore, this fast endpoints actually requires .NET 6 to be there. Therefore, this we will select this ASP.NET Core web app, and we will click on next, and we will provide a suitable name for this particular web application. So I'm now giving it as fast endpoints demo, and I will enable this particular option called place solution and project in the same directory, and click on next. And it requires this .NET 6 framework to be there, and authentication type I am giving none as of now, and I'm enabling this HTTPS, and then click on create. So we have now created a web app here. If you go to this project properties, you will be able to see the project type that we have created and the target framework that we are using. So basically, it comes with some web pages, default web pages, and those resources. It comes uh, with this particular project template. Therefore, we don't need this particular guy as of now since we are creating a web API. So we can go ahead and delete this particular resource. And pages also we don't require as of now. And the first thing that we have to do is we have to actually install few NuGet packages to support fast endpoint. Therefore, we have to go to dependencies, manage NuGet packages, and you have to go to browse and just type fast endpoints. So if you just type fast endpoint, you will see different packages for the fast endpoints. Fast endpoints.swagger and fast endpoint generator attribute, etc. We need the fast endpoint package, not the other one. If this is for the Swagger support, we will install it and we'll just see where the fast endpoints. Yeah, so we have to install this particular fast endpoints to support to expose those API support and library support, enable the library support, and we will just click on OK to proceed with the installation. And we have successfully installed the fast endpoint NuGet package. Then, if you want to enable the Swagger support, we can go ahead and install the Swagger. Means I will also provide the Swagger support for now. The Swagger is nothing but to actually provide a visual representation of the API support or the what all features are provided by that particular web API that is easily exposed by Swagger in a web page format. Therefore, it is pretty convenient in that manner. This particular Swagger exposes the capabilities of a particular API in a web page. So we will install this particular guy also, first point or Swagger. It requires a lot of NuGet packages, I guess. Let's go ahead and click on OK. Accept. So let's see what is the status of. Yeah, it is installed. Therefore, as you can see, if we expand the dependencies packages, we have installed these two NuGet packages, and we can try to see how we can create fast endpoints. So first, what we'll try to do is create some DTO classes. So how this works is request endpoint response pattern that I have previously mentioned, right? Therefore, request means we should have a request. coming in, and an endpoint to listen on that particular request, and a response which is sent by that particular web API. Therefore, we will represent each of these entities like request, endpoint, response as an individual classes. Therefore, we will represent the request endpoint, that request as a DTO object. Therefore, here we will create one folder for that request, add new folder, or we'll just mention it as DTO folder, and we will add new class for it. Therefore, it brings with this particular Nuget package actually injects or provides certain templates that can be created. Therefore, we will not use them as of now, and we will just go ahead by creating a request class. Therefore, means we are going to see a simple web API which will actually return you the requested month, or if we provide a particular month index, or then it will return the particular name of the month in a simple manner. Therefore, we will name this particular DTO request DTO as month index request. So we will create this particular DTO guy. And what we have to do in this particular guy is we will just define one property called index, which will actually specify the month index. So we will rename this particular guy to index. Therefore, this let it be. And we will just create one more class, DTO class for the response. Therefore, we will name it as month name response. Obviously, these names can be better. Let's see. I'll just naming it as there is an naming error. Let's rename it to month name response. Okay. Ah, something like I'll just try to rename this guy also. So, name response. Great. Therefore, we have renamed the class, and we will just introduce few properties here which will actually talk about the response structure. Therefore, what should be the response which should be given to the client. Therefore, I am interested to give, or this particular web API is planning to provide a list of string, which is essentially the month names. Therefore, I will just give it as month names. That's it. Therefore, we have provided the request and response structures, and we will specify the endpoint now. Therefore, for specifying the endpoint, I will add new folder. There's no need to add folders, add the files inside folders, but to organize it in a better manner, I am just adding it inside these folders. Therefore, I will just add a particular folder called endpoints, and inside endpoints, I will add new class which is called month endpoint. Okay, yeah, month endpoint is there, and we will see what should be written in this particular class. Therefore, this should be a public class, should be visible to the outside world, and also we should actually inherit for or implement from this endpoint class, which is specified in which takes in two template argument, which is month index request DTO and month name response. Therefore, IntelliSense already provides this particular what all things to include. Therefore, we will just include this fast endpoints. Therefore, this comes from the fast endpoint. Therefore, it provides a lot of virtual APIs which we can override. The one of the thing that we need to override is basically the configure API, which will give us the um, functionality to override the behavior of this particular endpoint, or configure the behavior of this endpoint. We have to override the can override this configure API. So yes, we have to override, and in this particular configure, we will say which verbs or which HTTP verbs this particular endpoint should support. Therefore, I am actually making this particular endpoint to support HTTP GET. Therefore, for that, I will specify HTTP dot GET. Yes, that's it. And I have to actually specify which all HTTP routes this particular endpoint should listen to. Therefore, for this routes, I'm specifying a particular route string here. Therefore, this will be months. And if you want to specify some parameter, you have to place it inside this curly braces, and I will specify this index inside this particular thing. And allow anonymous, which will actually allow allow anonymous requests to be served by this particular endpoint. Therefore, that is pretty useful in our case. If I'll just do allow anonymous, it will serve anonymous request. Therefore, one more API that we need to override will be um, handle async. Therefore, this particular guy will actually handle our request, incoming request. So inside this handle API, what we'll do is we'll try to send a response back to the client who is making that particular request. Therefore, here we will create a new instance of response class. In that we will set these properties, month name properties we will set, and we will check the request. We will just take in, or we will extract the index from the request DTO, and we will check what is the index pointing to. Therefore, if the index is 0, then I will just define a behavior where I will return the entire months, or else what I will do is I will just create a new custom list of string which will actually filter, which will actually return only the month which is requested by the client. Therefore, what I'll do is I will go to this months dot element and request index. So this means request dot index minus one, which will return the month which is at that particular index only, which will return the month name for that particular index, requested index. So that's it from our side. Therefore, we will define the month here. Therefore, month will be private, enumerable or string, string, and we'll define it as months. And it will be new list of string, and we'll just define all the months present in a particular year. Jan, Feb. So we'll just specify all the months in a year. We'll just do this particular guy. Yes, we done it. So we have added all the months, and our endpoint is set, and our details are set. And last but not the least, therefore, we have to go to this program.cs, which is our main entry point of our particular application. Therefore, here we have a new way of writing. We will see here that there is no need to define a class, namespace, etc. There is nothing required. Therefore, we don't need this razor page as of now. And builder build will create an app, and it is checking if it is a development environment. Therefore, this check is not required as of now. Just do away with it. And what all things we need? We have to include the fast endpoints, right? Therefore, while creating a builder, in builder we have to specify few things. Therefore, we have to specify the services in the builder. Services dot add fast endpoints. Therefore, this has to be coming from one of the fast endpoint namespace. Yes, fast endpoints we have to use. And then we have to go ahead and add the Swagger support for this particular services. Services dot add Swagger document. Therefore, this will actually generate the Swagger document for you. And next, rest all things almost remains the same. And map razor pages is not required, as we are not using razor pages. And here we have to add status redirection is also not required. Static files is not required since we have deleted all the static files. And routing is also not required. Authorization is also not required. We are not doing any authorization stuff here. We will just add in the Open API support here. Use Open API, and we will use authorization and add authorization if you want. You can add. Then we will use fast points. There in the builder, we have specified the add fast endpoints we have done to the services side. Therefore, it will just discover all the fast endpoints that we have configured in this particular project. It will add into the services container. Therefore, here in the app, we will instruct the app to use the fast endpoints as to expose its fast endpoints, and then we will add the Swagger support to expose the functionality, add the Swagger UI support here. Therefore, here it will be in the thing. We will just use the default configuration for the Swagger document. That's it. Therefore, our first service, fast endpoint service is almost ready. Fast endpoint web API is almost ready. Then let's fire it up. Therefore, we'll just click on the debug, on it in the debug mode. Let's try to build it. This build is succeeded and it is successfully running. Therefore, at which endpoint this particular service is listening to, we have to go to its properties, launch settings. Okay, there's one error called API Explorer not registered in DI. API Explorer, we are using some API Explorer. Just go to the call stuff. Details. We explore not restored in interior. So let's see what is going wrong there. I guess this is coming from the Swagger. Uh, we will do one thing. I guess this particular API Explorer needs to be added here. Therefore, we'll go to this filter services. Let's see. We can add API endpoint, API Explorer, add LEC. There is some settings. Go try to remove this app settings which was referring to some. Let's try to build this guy, rebuild this guy, succeeded. And let's try to fire this up again. Let's see if the error comes. Okay, Explorer not registered in TR, which is the API Explorer. We'll go to the launch settings. Maybe the culprit is that guy. Application URL. So we'll try to use IIS Express for this particular guy. Let's see if it comes up. So let's try to see the game session. Guys, yeah, welcome. Yeah, actually, the I guess the issue that we are getting right, the API Explorer. Therefore, we have used the wrong API for the Swagger document. It was add Swagger doc we have to use instead. So we'll just try to just see and fire this particular thing guy up. Yeah, yes, I guess it worked, and we'll just see the Swagger document for it. Yes, yes. As you can see, this is the application URL which is listening to. And if we go to the Swagger index HTML, which is the Swagger web page we are getting, which will expose the API capabilities. If we expand the schema, we will just see the request and response details which are used in this particular API. And if you just go click on this particular JSON, we will see the API definition in a JSON format. So this will actually give you the this is actually language neutral and platform neutral, which can be understood by different API platforms, which can be understood by different clients to create their own stuff, which will be helpful in creating their own stub classes to interact with this particular web API. Therefore, this can be used in that sense. So you can see all the necessary data are there. And now let's try to fire a request to bring Postman. Yeah, it's taking some time to load. Let's see. Yeah, we'll go to this particular URL. Therefore, we'll go to this particular paste in this particular URL, and we'll give the full name once slash the index we are trying to do. And this is a get endpoint that we have defined in the web API service. So we'll just try to send a request. We'll see whether we are getting a response. Yeah, yes, this API worked. Therefore, you can see the all the month name has been received, has been sent back by the API Explorer. If you want to get a particular month, for example, if you want to change this particular month index to 2 and send a response back, get only that particular month back. So this is a pretty simple way of just testing out your API, and we can just put our breakpoint in this particular running code. Just put breakpoint this particular month endpoint. We'll just put breakpoint here. Yeah, just see whether that particular breakpoint is hitting when we try to send this particular request. Yes, as you can see, this particular breakpoint is getting hit, and this particular handle is being invoked, and this particular response based on the index that we have sent from the client. Index is request index is 6, and correspondingly the month name at sixth index position and fifth index position will be returned back to the client. We can just continue with this particular guy, and we have received the response back. So yeah, that's it from the fast endpoint video, fast endpoint session. Then yeah, let's see in the next video. Take care, guys. Thank you.